look, listen, and learn. Hey. What's up, everybody? Once again, we are here in the place to be. Look, listen, and learn with the Master G, the unforgettable Master G, as people like to say. Show 6. Yeah, I think we had show 6 now, episode 6. And this one right here, this is a tribute show today. I'm doing a tribute show. And my tribute is to single parents. That's what I'm passionate about. Single parenting. I'm talking about single parents, and I'm giving props to single parents because the single parent, man, is the cornerstone of a lot of communities these days. So that's what we're doing. We're giving props to those individuals that's out there. Mainly, and a lot of times it's women. I know for a fact, just from my own experience, like I tell you guys all the time, I will always use myself as the first example. That way I don't step on anybody's toes or offend or piss off anybody. But I was born in 62, and in 1962, Elizabeth Perkins had a little boy. She was 15 when she got pregnant and had me when she was 16. In 1962, a 16-year-old girl having a baby inside of her was a pretty bad situation. God rest her soul. My mom passed, and my grandmother was so upset about the situation that she literally tried to push my mom down the stairs, and she also slammed the window down on her a couple of times. She wasn't prepared. She was definitely not prepared for my mother to embarrass her in those times. It's a different world now. Now you got shows about teen moms, and you have it's more normal. It's more understandable. But at that point, it was a really hard situation to deal with. With that being said, all my life, and I've had some great fathers in my life. My first dad was a pilot and an engineer, and I tell you guys a lot of stories about him. He was amazing, and then of course the guy that raised me from 15 on up was a guy, and he's still around. Shout out to him. His name is Sidney Jackson Jr. So I've had some great role models in my life as far as male people are concerned, but my rock, my solid person, my main individual, the one that gave me, the one that taught me how to dress, the one that taught me how to, open the door for a woman, the one that taught me how to conduct myself, the one that, the person that really showed me how to be was a single mom, and I don't think that single mothers get the credit that they deserve, or single parenting. Shout out to my cousin Sean, who's raising his daughter on his own. He's a single parent, male single parent. And again, that's why I said I'm saying single parenting, and not necessarily, just single moms. They're just predominantly the ones that's out there. All the stuff that you go through, the sacrifices that they make, the lives that they lead, giving up their life. We have to start recognizing how important a woman is. You got to think about this. A woman was created in a way to give life. Men can't do that. A man, we don't have that. We help, but we are not the one that creates it. It doesn't form in our body. We don't feed it. We don't nourish it until, of course, it becomes a being and it's out and about. And then a lot of times what happens is one or whoever it may be, again, like I said, we're doing parenting. Somebody's leaving the situation. 9 times out of 10, it's the man. The man, in a lot of cases, will not be available or not, be involved in the raising of the child. So who is left to take on the responsibility? Again, another powerful point for women. Shows you how powerful the woman is, or the single parent, because children don't ask to be here. So in that situation, you have got to figure it out, because it's not the responsibility of the child to make it. It's the responsibility of the parent to help the child make it. Again, my mother, she sacrificed her life for my brother and my sister. She gave her life up. She dropped out of school. When I was born, she dropped out of school, so she never finished. She self-taught herself, and she showed us the way. So, we gotta constantly, now, and what I'm doing with people is, when you see a single parent, find out what's going on with them. Talk to them, let them know that you understand, because the young people of today are the future. The generation that is, that's out here right now. We as an older person, that generation is going to be responsible for us. So what is being given? Because that's what I mean by the single parent. The parent's responsibility is to show that child what it is, or what it takes to make it, or how it is to be. So very important that we understand that. Very important that we give props to those individuals that's going on. I'm going to jump off of there for a minute. A lot of the stuff that has been going on in my life, it's a very important time for me, because with the opportunity to do the show, with the 40th anniversary, with a lot of the exposure that I'm getting, I'm coming on a new chapter, and we talk about this, and we've talked about this in a couple other shows, the reinvention or the reemerging of an individual. Again, I'm always going to be the first person to put the heat on myself. So I'm doing a reemerging, because for most of my life, I've always been a private person. Most of my life, I have stayed out of the public eye. I'm not the person that's going to be at the premiere. Not that I love movies, but that hasn't been my reality. Doing this show and a lot of the other things that I'm getting ready to start doing, it's a form of rebuilding and rebranding. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and use the word rebranding. And the reason being is because I feel like the time has come for me to make the move and do the things that I was given the gift to do. So that's one of the things that we also going to hit on. What's your gift? What were you given the gift to do? Maybe you were given the gift to raise children. Again, bounce back. Maybe that was your gift. That was my mother's gift. She wasn't she didn't reinvent the wheel. She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't a lawyer, but she raised, that was her gift. So, I'm looking at this and I'm understanding this and I'm working with it, and I'm really starting to take on the responsibility of, and I say this all the time, the individual that sits before you, or the individual that the world knows Master G of the Sugar Hill Gang. The world doesn't really know Guy O'Brien. There are people that know Guy O'Brien, but everybody doesn't really know Guy O'Brien. So the situation that we find ourselves in is putting ourselves in a position to give the gifts that we're given. We got to give them gifts out. And that's what it is that I feel like I'm doing. I feel like, coming to you now and, for example, talking about, the single parent situation and talking about the positive affirmations and making all these different attempts to reach out to everybody. Shout out to everybody that listens to the music, and shout out to everybody that's listening to and watching the show. Shout out to all of the positive feedback that I've been getting. Thanks to everybody for enjoying the theme song. The theme song has been an interesting facet of my life as well. And I was talking to some people before I came in today, and the thing about me is that most of everything that I do is an organic situation. Mostly everything that comes out of me is really coming out of me. It's not something that somebody's feeding me. It's not a line that somebody's giving me. It's basically what I feel like at that moment, and based on what I feel like at that moment, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say or I'm going to do something that's going to educate and inform and turn somebody on and, give somebody something that they can do more with, because that's an important thing. Once again, I'm a parent. I have children. There was a lot of emphasis put in to the raising of my children by their mothers. I've always been on the road. I've always traveled. Shout out to my Guy Junior's mother, and shout out to Jared and Devin's mother. These people raised the children. I facilitated. Yes, I did my due diligence as far as what I could do in a financial situation, but the raising of the children, was done by their mothers. It's important that you understand the power and the gift that you're given. I take it to another level. What happens when you start visualizing your life? What happens when you start finding, where it is that you need to be and what it is that you need to do? What happens? When do you decide that you're going to make that move? For example, again, back to the single parent. When does that mother or when does that father decide? It pretty much happens organically. It happens when the situation goes down. And then what steps are taken to make things happen? Because that's the other thing. One of the things that you have to recognize, and one of the things that you got to represent and give props to, is the sacrifices that are made by the single parent. The sacrifice is so incredible that you'd be amazed at the dedication that people go through to raise children and get children to be, what it is that they need to be and how it is that they come to be. I don't know what I would have done without my mother. I don't know what I would have done without the people that she put into my life. Because here's the thing, she put certain people in my life for specific reasons. When she introduced me to my brother's dad, Orville O'Brien, she knew that he flew planes. She knew that he, was an engineer. She knew that as a young man of color, I needed to have that kind of example in front of me, and she went through that with great sacrifice, because he wasn't not always the best person, on on a relationship level. But again, sacrifice, man. And I'm going to keep talking about single parenting, because I don't think enough attention is paid to the single parents of the world. I don't think there should be a single parent award show. And then not only should it be an award show, or they have like a hometown hero thing. I know CNN does something, hometown heroes. They should do single parents. They should do a single parent award, and it should be, stories and, just like my story. And it should be monetary gifts given out or sponsorship from different companies. This is the impact of the importance of a single parent. At least I think it is. Be creative, man. Be creative. I'm challenging people. Every time I'm gonna ask you to do something. Every time I'm gonna want you to be somebody. So this time and today on episode 6, I'm challenging people to be creative and visualize what it is that you see yourself, or how it is that you see yourself, or where it is that you see yourself, or where it is that you see your child, or where it is that you see your spouse or your significant other. That's a big responsibility when you start talking about what is a child going to be like when their mother is trying to figure out how to put food on the table? What is your child going to be like when the rent needs to be paid? You have to understand what it is that they're going through and how it is that they're going through and what it is that they see, because they're looking at something bigger. Anytime that a child comes out like me, like, for example, anytime a child comes out and he ends up becoming a college graduate, or they become a successful business person, and they came from that kind of environment, there was a lot of visualization that went down by that parent. There was a lot of sacrifice that went down by that parent, and that's why I think real talk. There should be an award given to single parents. Do we have Quan? Is Quan anywhere in the building? Okay, yeah. So yeah, so let's get some show stuff going down. One, we're going to visualize. That's the first thing. We're going to visualize what we see for ourselves. We're going to visualize what we see for our spouse. We're going to visualize what we see for our children. So we're going to do that. We're going to first do that. Then the other thing is we're going to start giving props to those that deserve it. Here's the problem that sometimes we do. We wait till a person is gone, or we wait till a person is not feeling well, or we wait till a crisis comes before we give up props. Nah, a lot of times if you tell somebody or you let somebody know that you appreciate what they're doing, that goes a long way. Sometimes, hey man, I think you're doing a really good job. That goes a long way. Hey man, I really appreciate you know what, sister? The fact that you are taking on the responsibility of raising this family and going out there and bringing in money, and that is a huge accomplishment, and you should be recognized. You'd be amazed what happens, man, when you tell somebody or you let somebody know that you're doing something good, that you recognize. Far too many times, because we are built, our society basically is built on negativity. If you watch the news, if you're listening to, what's going on the radio, most of the time, this is the first thing that they lead with. The news stories lead with something negative. Everybody's always talking about something negative. We are in this situation, in this arena, on this platform, we're going to focus on things that are positive. We're going to focus on things that are going to be upbuilding, encouraging, uplifting. That's why I wanted to do this show today. That's the reason why I basically just stopped everything as far as bringing somebody in. And I wanted people to focus on what it is that I'm talking about today. And like I said, what I'm talking about today is letting people know the power of what a single parent goes through, and letting people know the realness of understanding the sacrifices that people make, and understanding what it takes to develop. And I'm not talking about drop the kid off, and I'm talking about people that live with the kids on a day-to-day basis. I'm talking about people that changed their lives and moved into a situation that they didn't want to be in, but they're in it because they got a situation they got to take care of. There's a lot of sacrifice being made by that, man. There's a lot of sacrifice by that. And then here's the thing too. When it comes to the children, you got to understand that you want to give them things to build off of. If you teach a child how to learn, that child will flourish. If you just continually put in front of that person opportunities and options, that's a critical situation, man. One of the things that helped me win was that I had options. One of the things that helped me grow is that there were different things around me and different things in my life that gave me a chance to make choices. Making a choice based on information is a total different situation on making a choice where there's no information and there's no opportunities. It's critical. It's critical, and it's important that we do that. The importance of being honest with your children, the importance of being sincere The importance of being sincere, period. The importance of letting people know how important it is to be important. And to be and to be firm and to be fair, because that's the other thing. That's a hard situation to deal with too. How do you work with raising a child, dealing with the things that go along with the child, but at the same time, not letting the child run free, not letting the child do crazy things. It's very tough, man. It's really tough. So, again, be serious when it comes to putting things in order. When it comes to giving yourself an opportunity, man, to understand what it is that a single parent goes through, give them those props, man. Stop a mom, or send them, get on the phone and make a phone call, or do something positive, gift something to somebody, man. A lot of times, one of the things that I've seen people do is, you got somebody that's in front of you in a cashier situation or at a supermarket, man. Pay for that person's, you see a mom and she's working with some kids or whatever. Reach out to her, man. Pay for that person's groceries, or just anything, man. Just make it known that you want and you recognize the person's situation, or you recognize what a person is going through, or you want to be, and I want to make sure I say this right. You want to be an individual that lets people know that you understand this struggle, because the struggle is real. The struggle is definitely real. Again, we're going to switch gears a little bit. I was in a conversation early on with another colleague of mine, and talking about Jaquan, and we got into a thing where we started talking about collaborations. We started talking about situations and scenarios when it came to our music. We started talking about why we haven't, in the hip hop world, done a collaboration with the old and the new. But before I go that further, I got a memo. We're gonna have a great single parent video play. Hold on, check it out.
To the single parents, we see you. It doesn't matter if this was your plan A or plan Z. It doesn't matter if you have them part-time, half-time, or all the time. We see you juggling it all, pushing through the exhaustion day after day, doing whatever you have to do to make it all happen, and loving fiercely every step of the way. We see your strength, we see your determination, your grit, and your love. The love that keeps you running even when you're beat. The love that keeps reminding you, at the end of it all, you are their person. You are their hero. You are their entire world. And the truth is, they are yours. And that is what makes it all worth it.
Places. At least it's worth.
I'm not going into that forest.
To all the single parents out there, we see you. You are strong. You are more than enough. You are doing a great job.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe.
Wow. Now, see, there you go. Single parenting, man. And I know normally I'm really over the top, and I know a lot of times, I might seem like I'm really smooth and, that I'm really with it, or I'm very witty, or I got a lot of catch. But today, this show means a lot to me for a lot of reasons. And so, I apologize if I'm not as polished as I normally am, or I'm not as witty as I normally would be. But the most important person in my life, or the most significant individual in the earlier part of my development, was my mother. And she really gave up a lot of herself. And, as a child, you don't understand some of the things that a parent is going through. My mother drank a lot when she was, when we were younger. She drank a lot, and I gave her a lot of grief about it. One of the reasons why I don't drink alcohol, and I never have drank alcohol, is because of watching my mother and grandparents and other adults in my life totally spaz out behind alcohol. But I made that decision as a child. And see, as a child, you only have limited information. So you see a situation and you see this going on, and you start making assumptions, and you start passing judgment on adults when you don't have enough information to pass judgment. Now, granted, as I grew up, I didn't get in alcohol and I saw the effects of it. But as I got older, I also understood why she drank so much. Because once you get grown, and you got mortgages to pay, and you got a car that you gotta fix in the shop, and you gotta put groceries on the table, and there's the child care, and there's all these different things going on, and you have no help, or you have a minimum amount of help, or you have, trying to figure out how to rob Peter to pay Paul. Sometimes you're gonna fall prey to something to help you get through it. So again, that's another reason why I became so motivated today to do this show. Also, it's is it National Women's History Month? Is this a National Women's History Month? If I'm not sure. Shout out to all the women, period. Just women in general. But this is a very sensitive situation, y'all. This is not something that I'm looking for somebody to be, impressed with me on. This is something that I feel like, especially at this point in my life, and this is something that I feel like needed to be said and needed to be documented, and I wanted a record of it for, whatever was happening or whatever was going to happen to me in the future. I wanted it to be somewhere where somebody could go back to and have this information documented. And that's what this is all about today. That's what today is all about. I find that, again, it's not done enough. I find that, the Today Show covered it. The Today Show did a whole that whole thing. It put it all into a visual thing for you to understand. And again, I know there's people out there right now. There's folks that I know personally that identify with what it is that I'm talking about. So you and to you, I say, man, I take my hat off to you. I believe that, if at any time you didn't think I appreciated it, or if you at any time you think that I don't see you work, believe me, I see you work. I see you work, and those people that I know and I rub shoulders with, and the people that I talk to, and the places that I go to in the world, I see you work. I know the importance. I know that sometimes you're on the verge of maybe not even being able to keep a roof over your head, and then you say a prayer and you get a Hail Mary, and boom, and you figure it out. I see you, man. I see you out there, the individual who's right now trying to figure out what you're gonna put on the table for dinner. As a kid, I was blind to that. Again, I go back to why I had to do this show. I was blind to it. I was mad because there were certain days of the week that we had liver, and I hated liver. I thought liver was the worst thing on the planet. But what I came to find out was, as I got older, liver was an inexpensive meat. And so we had liver once a week because that's what the budget provided for. So shout out to you who's trying to figure out what's going to be on the table for dinner. It's very serious, man. It's very, very serious. Don't forget. Don't forget, man. Don't forget. And again, like I said, I'm not looking to be fly. I'm not looking to be fly today. I want it to sincerely be known that I respect the single parent in this world. I totally get it. I totally get it. I mean, even in my own situation, I totally get, whatever time was spent raising my children that I wasn't there. I totally get it. I believe that it's real. It's just something that has to be done. Tupac, he had the record, Dear Mama. That was a great record. It made a lot of sense. I love the idea of, as I got older, I was able to show my mother what it was that she sacrificed for. I love that. Unfortunately, she lived long enough to see me become successful as a musician, and she also lived long enough to see me come out of that situation and go into business. And so I was thankful. There were still things that I wanted to do for her, once I became, successful, that I didn't get a chance to do. But there were things that I did do. So I'm going to say that to this now, to the children, to the child of a single parent. And I know that there are many of you out there. Do whatever it is that you can do to let your person know that you appreciate what's being done. Not that you're not doing it, because I know that there's a lot of people like myself that have done great things for their parents. But I'm just putting it out there again. We're going to make sure we're going to document this information here and now. When you get to a point, or if you ever get into a situation where you can do something for that parent, please, whatever you can do it. I mean, even if it's just if it's a card, let's say, if it's a card and it's just write a note, not necessarily on Mother's Day, any day you got to recognize your mom or your dad, whoever that person is. Now we take the spectrum. It could be your grandmother. It could be your uncle. It could be an aunt. It could be a godparent. It could be, whoever that provider is, whoever that caregiver is, whoever that guardian is that is giving you the ability to be who you are. Again, I would give all my success, man, if I could have my mother here with me right now and be able to shower her with all of the trappings of whatever success I've accumulated in my life. I do anything in my power, because here's the deal. Whoever that person is that does that for you, you will never forget that person. Whoever the person is that took care of you, whoever that person is that made it possible for you to be who you are, you will never, ever forget that person. That person will always be the most important person in your life. I see my man is on the dial. Quan, you there?
Yeah, I'm good, man. What's happening?
I'm up here being emotional, man. I'm babbling.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, hey, I'm a mama's boy too, man. So I feel you. I feel everything you're saying, man.
Yeah, man. I got caught up, like I said, and to the crowd and to people that's watching. I know that sometimes they look for me to be polished, and they look for me to be prolific and so forth and so on. And I don't really get emotional. I'm not usually an emotional person.
Sure.
I'm normally able to maintain my emotion, but I kind of unraveled early on, and I was really searching to find the right place to do this, man, because it's serious, man. It's serious. I mean,
Well, when you talk about mom, man, that's understood. When you talk about mom, that's the time to do it. So I get it, man.
Yeah. I mean, what's your reality on that, man? I mean, where have you been on that level? I know you got your own story. I told my little, mom at 16, that kind of thing. Where are you at?
Well, mine is a little similar from what I know of yours, man. It was, I definitely grew up in a single mother situation until I was probably 12 or 13. So those formative years, man, of the time I needed somebody to teach me how to throw the ball and how to throw my fist and all of that. It was my grandma who had to hold me down on that. And they did the best they could, and I came out, I came out good with it, man. One thing, that's responsible for who I am, especially musically. I talk a lot about the music history and everything, but my mother was such an avid lover of music, and she just had this immense record collection, just eclectic collection of records, man. Hendrix and Isley Brothers and Simone Day and Mandrill,
Right.
and just say the Eagles. I grew up on a plethora of different genres of music, and not only did the influence rub off from her, she actually sat me down and told me about the history of music. I can remember, her buying Stevie Wonder records and Isaac Hayes records, and me listening to them, and her showing me the liner notes and showing me the words and explaining to me, this is what Stevie's saying on this song. Right. And that meant a lot. And outside of that, she also, and I don't know why she did it, and I never have asked her about it, but early on, my mother took me to concerts to see some of the best R&B and funk groups. Wow. Like when I was like 8, 9 years old, my mother took me to see Cameo, the Barcades, Rick James. So one reason that my bar is really high for music and for live performance is because I've seen the best do it when they were at their best. So, you can't pull a wool over my eyes on a live performance, because I seen Rick James at his height. I seen Cameo at their height, Barcades. Before there was a rap record, my mother had already taken me down to the Richmond Coliseum to see these shows. So everything who I am, as far as who I am on the music level, my mother was an educator. So intellectual level, everything, is directly a result of the influence of my mother. So that's my everything. I'm a mother's boy. My mother's still here with me. So I talk to my mother probably, if a week goes by and we don't talk for 2 days in a row, one of us is gonna say, okay, something's going on. Right. So I'm not ashamed of that, to say I'm a mama's boy, all day long, bro.
It's a beautiful thing, man. It really is a beautiful thing. And again, like I said, I'm kind of gaining my consciousness back now, because I'm having these moments as I do this. We talk about this a lot, of me being this person, this more visible individual, and I find that a lot of times I'm having moments where I'm reflecting while I'm actually living in the moment, and it becomes a very weird feeling, because I'm not used to it. I'm used to being very regimented and putting the case, and I can do it and be out of it, and blah blah blah. But when certain things make you and take you to certain places, and this is something that I've never done this before. I don't think I've ever really talked about on a level, on a long level, my personal experience, as far as my upbringing, or that situation. So but I think that, again, it's important that we do that, because we need to let these people know how important they actually are to us.
Oh, no question about it, man. That's one thing for sure. I would never tell anybody, I would never advise anybody to go into a situation of single parenthood, because if they can avoid it, because I know that it's not easy. But I will say, growing up, I didn't even know until I was well into my upper teenage years, that my situation was one that wasn't, a quote unquote normal situation. First of all, the neighborhood we lived in, there was a lot of that. It was more the norm for people to live with their mother. You know, only a few cats.
Exactly.
You know, it was only a few dads in the neighborhood. And that was back in the days when, you know, you still had the fathers that would take other kids under their wing and stuff like that. You know, these days, you know, a lot of cats don't even want to claim their own. It definitely ain't gonna, you know, that it takes a village mentality. We don't have it like we used to.
True.
And I'm talking early 70s.
True.
But I never saw at that time. We weren't poor. We definitely weren't rich. But I would have thought we were rich because every Christmas,
right?
You know, every toy I wanted. Plus, I had never was hungry.
Right.
Never wanted for anything. And like I said, it took me a while to see that, oh shoot, this isn't how most people are. You know, that it's supposed to be like this, mother, father. You know, I really didn't miss anything.
Well, see, that's my point. That's why I was saying that, you know, a lot of times, especially when you're a child, you don't understand the degree of sacrifice and the work that's put into making a home for a child. You know, you really don't understand. Like you said, you know, we had Christmas and we had food on the table, and you know, I talked a little thing about the liver thing. You know, I was pissed off about liver, but you know, when I got older, I understood that even though it was liver, it was always liver. There was never a day, you know what I'm saying, or there was never a time when I didn't have dinner or I didn't have breakfast, you know, and I, you know, once I became a grown man and, you know, had to live my own life, I started realizing I really understand the dedication and the motivation that goes into making that possible for
you know, 100%. You know, it's funny you say that because me and one of my best friends, we talk about that a lot. You know, I was able to appreciate my mother a lot more once I became an adult, and I'm an adult. You know, I'm married, you know, and I got 2 children, and, you know, we got a 2-parent household, and financially and every other way, it's still not easy. So for her to do it on her own, I can respect that a lot more and appreciate that a lot more in retrospect, because I'm like, as a grown man, you know, as I was raising my children, I reflected like, wow, you know, it's not extremely easy for both of us to do this. How did she do it on her own?
I'm telling you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish up.
No, you good.
No, I'm telling you, I think that's kind of what happened to me today. I started literally going over in my head, you know, all of the things that I gave her drama about, all the things that because I was opinionated as a child. You know, I was very opinionated as a child, you know, to the point where I was literally, I didn't speak to my mother, man. At one point in my life, I didn't speak to her for 8 months. You know, I was so upset with how she had lived her life. But I you know, I really was just like, wow, you know, when I start thinking about, you know, what I had to do sometimes to take care of my own children and the sacrifices that I made, you know, and the things that I might have done, you know, to make sure or do what I could for those around me, man, you know, it kind of threw me off. You know, it threw me off. I wasn't ready.
Say it again. Was the last?
I wasn't ready. I thought I was gonna go into this and, you know, again, just breeze through it and be cool with it. But I wasn't ready for the emotional impact that I had. You know, when I put this,
it's
out
real,
there.
man. And it's funny because you know, the same friend I was just talking about. We laugh now, but you know, in the summer, you know, when we were home all day for those 2 months of the summer,
right?
You know, I never understood why it was a big deal that, or you drank the last of this, or you ate the rest of this. Because you're a kid, and you don't respect where things come from as a kid. You think everything is plentiful. I never forget when my daughter was very young. We were in the store and she wanted something. And I told her, well, we can't get that right now. She said, well, you got your card, my credit card.
Right.
She's like, you know, you don't understand that card is connected to something. It ain't just something you swipe.
Right.
It's connected to something real. Right. So as a child, I didn't understand, well, why did she get mad because I drank the last of this? Now that I'm an adult and I have, you know, children, or I had children home during the summer, you know, you got your groceries in the refrigerator, you come home and it's something you're going to make for dinner. Now it's half gone or it's gone. I understand. Wow. You know, and I don't have the issue that she might have had of replenishing the refrigerator, because again, I'm
you're in a different situation
better off than she was, and I have a wife with me. But still, it's like, man, that was the ground turkey for dinner tonight, and you made whatever with it. You know, I totally get it now. I totally get it.
And I think, and again, that's another reason why I think this is a very significant show, above and beyond a lot of different things that we're documenting this. You know what I mean? It's there now. Now it's out there in the universe. You know, we're doing what it is that we're supposed to do. We're doing what it is that for like in my case, I'm continually doing what it is and why it is that my mother made those sacrifices, and she went through those,
Right.
those tribulations in her life to get me to a point where I could run on autopilot.
There you
Where,
go.
I didn't end up in prison, and I didn't end up, drugged out, and, and I had enough information, and I had enough intestinal fortitude that when I came up on adversities, it didn't wig me out, because I had the foundation that she gave me, and the knowledge that she fed me, early on, to be able to move on.
And that's incredible. That is actually an incredible thing, man. They prepare you, and when you're younger, you don't understand it. You see it as, well, why can't I do these things I want to do? Why am I being restricted from whatever? Why won't you let me hang with this particular set of friends? That's one thing about my mother. She had a great insight when she told me that a set of friends was, hey, those guys are no good. You don't need to be around them. Of course, the rebellious, youthful thing for me as a child is, well, why not? You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You're paranoid, blah, blah. And then every friend that she called out as being one that would potentially be a troublemaker, today, man, them cats are either in jail or they in that rotating door about to go back in.
Yeah.
She called.
She knew. and that's the amazing thing, that they don't, that single parents, and we're not just talking about mothers, we're talking about single parents. They have so much intuition come from, a meager setup. We're not talking about PhD and poet laureates and, these kind of people. We're talking about hardcore people that are, my mother dropped out of school when she was 15 years old. So how was she able to prepare me to be able to eventually sit down at a table of bankers and, discuss a multi-million-dollar situation? How is she giving me the insight? Because everything that I've always done and everything that I do, even to this day, even right now, is based on the fundamentals that she gave me.
Yeah, same here, man. Yeah, they had that wisdom, man. It's incredible.
Yeah. So, okay, all right. I got my thoughts again. So let's get on to the other subject of today, and the one that we've been talking about behind the scenes, and we're gonna put it on the scene, and that's the collaboration situation with music. I listen to everything that I can absolutely possibly get my hands on. I'm big into jazz. I'm big into blues. I'm big into rock guitar players, Eric Clapton and John Mayer and Jeff Beck, and I go there. I go there. There's a lot of guys overseas that are really doing great things. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years of me being a part of the music is that every form of music, like, for example, rock and roll, Eric Clapton being who he is, Eric Clapton went back and got B.B. King. Now, Eric Clapton wasn't even a thought in B.B. King's mind.
There you go.
He wasn't. I mean, there was nothing even remotely Eric Clapton. But how does Clapton and why would Clapton go that far back?
Right.
And get him and they did shows together. They did tours together. They did albums together. I mean, the Beatles, they did, collaborations with people. Rolling Stones.
Bonnie Raitt, Bonnie Raitt went and when Bo Diddley and those guys were still alive, she went and fought to get their royalties for them.
Exactly.
And not only did she secure their royalties for them, she put them on her tours and things like that. You're right. Those other genres of music, they reach back to the actual, the creators of the genre and the people who inspired them. And not only do they employ them, they employ them and they collaborate with them and give them a chance to be displayed to the new generation. Definitely.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And again, early on in the show, I've been talking about me putting myself in a position to be visible. And I think that one of the reasons and one of my responsibilities and one of my jobs is to put it out there to say that this has got to be a reality. There's got to be some situation that has to go down moving forward. just like I'm documenting, and I'm, this afternoon, this evening, or whatever, I'm willing to totally bare myself and purge myself to be exposed. I think that I'm going to continue to bare myself and expose myself and say, in our music, in hip hop, there's got to be the collaboration of the beginning and those that have, excelled. And I'm not going to use names because I don't need to use names, but I'm just saying the beginning being, the first successful rap group, or the second or the third, whatever the case may be, and whoever it is now that has amassed, major situations. That collaboration needs to happen, man. Just like B.B. King and Eric Clapton, it should be a similar situation going on now, I think. What do you think?
No question about it, especially the fact that it doesn't happen quite as much now. It's not as noticeable now because we're so much into it. There was a time during maybe the end part of the 90s, the beginning of the 2000s on, it became this very fashionable thing to borrow the hook, to take a classic rap group, and I'm in classic like your era, right. The group Furious 5 era,
right?
Funk 4 era of groups. It was very fashionable at that time just to take something Fly Today had said and turn it into the hook of your song. And there are many examples to go by, but people would take a popular phrase from a Furious 5 song and just take that one phrase and make it their hook. And my thing is, well, if whoever gave you that idea, whether you got the idea as an artist or your management, whoever said, hey, this was something fly that, the Furious said, I want you to use that same person, to me, the responsible thing to do would be like, hey, why don't we get those guys to do the hook or even a verse on this song? It don't hurt nothing. The song will do well either way, and will probably do better because you're going to get that current generation that already likes this group that's recording the song, and you're going to get the original fans from the original group. But you're right. There's got to be that respect where we look back and say, hey, this is the person that has inspired me. Didn't hop on the track. Prince did it. Prince went and signed Mavis Staples, George Clinton,
right,
Shaka Khan,
right,
Larry Graham,
right.
Almost everybody that he grew up and was influenced by. He went back and he not only did he publicly state that they were great influences, he collaborated or signed them to his label, and we could see a lot more of that in rap music. We definitely could.
And I think a lot of it sometimes has to be, again, people putting out the information, because a lot of times what people think old school is, or classic or legendary, is the 90s music,
right.
and we I'm talking about going all the way back. I'm talking about Houdini, I'm talking about that kind of stuff. I would love to see, I would love to see Ecstasy from Houdini do something with somebody that's out there right now that's rocking and rolling. That would be an amazing collaboration, man.
It would be, and it's not like these guys are not reachable, and it's not like they're not still recording, and it's not like they're still good. These guys still are able to flow proficiently and write and rhyme, and it's not like they're hard to access. It's not like this is free
on the
internet,
road. They're actively
and you don't know
touring.
how to find these guys.
Yeah. I again, I hope that with what we're doing today and what we're going to be continually doing moving ahead, that people will put that information out and people will make that become a factor. And we're coming to the tail end of the situation. So, Quan, I'm gonna say to you, brother, that I appreciate you, always coming in and doing the things that you do, and I look forward to talking to you like we do. Peace and my best to your people, and we will see you on the hip side of the flip side. Okay, brother?
Peace.
All right, man. Definitely. So again, like I said, I'm gonna put it out there. Today has been a very emotional moment for me. It's been a situation where I wasn't really prepared. Usually, I'm prepared for what's gonna come in a situation like this. I was not prepared for the emotional experience that I went through today. I'll be honest with you guys. And I think one of the things that something my mother always told me is to try the truth. It always works. So I'm going to be truthful and say, I hope that this has done what it needs to be done. I love you guys for loving me. See you soon. This is Master G with the Look, Listen, and Learn show. Peace.
We're calling this one. Look, listen, and learn.